Just want to say before the show starts, the Troy Show is a listener discretion advised show. We're fair, we're balanced here, everyone gets a voice. We can't quite control exactly what that voice is going to be, so please keep that in mind as you listen to the show. Any business or organization mentioned on the show is not a sponsor of The Troy Show, nor is it affiliated unless otherwise stated. The Troy Show is not an official representation of the city of Troy, Ohio, USA, or the government thereof. This is Troy on Air. Well, it's day 7, and Mike DeWine has not shut anything down yet. We're on to day 7 of Mike DeWine not shutting anything down. We've actually got some reopenings to talk about. Days of Troy State of Emergency 13 and day 7 of our Coronacation. Did you see those guys at the Quadrant, or the Bakehouse Quadrant? They had a sign on their car. I guess they got bored. It said, what did it say? It said, honk if you're horny. Well... I think there's going to be a new generation, and they're probably going to be called quarantines, if you know what I'm saying. Catch my drift. Well, welcome to the show for March 30th of 2020. As we are still in quarantine, we've got a lot of great articles on the stack tonight to go over. Hopefully the audio is going through. We've done some changes here in the studio, messing with the software. Everything on my end looks like it's coming through just fine. We've got audio confirmed over there. We're ready to take your calls tonight. 937-696-7572 is the number to call. 696-7572. We're kind of hoping the audio tonight is booming and loud across Troy, Ohio. Not only the downtown, but to the rest of the 25,000 people that live across Troy, Ohio. All right, so the first thing I want to get into tonight, again, the phone lines will be opening up at some point during the show. Go ahead and call in now if you've got something you want to talk about, or you can wait until maybe I say something that might get under your skin a little bit, or maybe something you agree with. Doesn't matter here. Everyone gets a voice, part of our 1-minute guarantee to call in. You won't get hit with the kill switch. You won't get cut off. I won't say anything for 1 minute. After that, the gloves are off, but you get at least 1 minute here on the show to say whatever you need to say about our city of Troy, Ohio, or the surrounding area of Miami County. Again, phone line for that, 937-696-7572. If you're watching the live feed on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Beautiful Troy Show, you can always see the number on the screen. We've got it there in the lower third for you to call in. It's right there for you. Maybe you're listening in the background. I'll give it out one more time for you, 937-696-7572. Our call screener in training is ready to take your calls. And then just stay on hold. You can hear the show while you're on hold. Just remember, when you do get on the air, you'll hear a beep. That'll indicate that you're on the air. And from there, if you are listening to something in the background, you need to turn that down as to avoid feedback. But our call screener will explain all this to you. Don't worry about it. We make this as easy as possible, as open as possible. You know, I should probably get this right off the bat, actually. You might be seeing some political affiliated signs on the live feed behind me here. We've got the Reese for Sheriff, and we've got the Vote No sign for the Troy City School tax, which everyone here knows is to rebuild our beautiful historic schools in a city that prides itself on historic. Go figure. But these, I mean, I've got political affiliations. I'm not going to lie, and I'm very open and honest about that, and that's the point of the show, that you can call in at any time. We'll put you on hold, and we'll get around to you in the call-in section. We've also got our group, facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio citizens, that you can join and voice your opinion a little bit further, because we do have to keep a bit of a format here on the show. I can't just let people go on forever. We've got many voices to get to. We've got time constraints. And let's be honest, I don't know how many people want to listen to me for more than an hour and a half in today's age. And you might be saying, well, people do 3-hour shows on terrestrial broadcast. That is true, but there are a lot of commercials during terrestrial broadcast. So you have to keep that in mind. It usually comes down to about an hour, 15, hour and a half. That's what we like to keep it here. We know everyone has limited amounts of time. Maybe not right now. Now's the perfect time to be tuning into your favorite shows and staying in touch with the community based on the fact of, our whiteboard here. You can't see the numbers. As the light fades outside, you'll be able to see them a little bit better, I hope. But our Coronacation that we're in right now, this is the time to kind of sit back. I don't know. Grab a drink, grab whatever it be, and enjoy yourself. We got the approval over there. Awesome. So I just wanted to touch on these political signs. Another thing that I want to kind of do for the show, because I think our call-in thing has been very successful. I think our Facebook group has been very successful as far as our mission goes to give everyone a voice. So I want to introduce tonight, if you have a sign, I know some campaigns have suspended it, and we've got some campaign news to get to as well here in the Miami County District. If you do have a campaign sign, if your campaign is still actively campaigning, if you have a cause you want represented that's political, bring it by the studio or just message the page, and I'll tell you where you can get your sign delivered to. And we'll put it on the wall. I'm not going to put it in the window. In fact, I'm kind of iffy on putting signs in the window. There's nothing wrong with it. I looked into the code a couple years ago on it, and political affiliations you can throw in your window, and there's plenty of people, because when you live downtown, you have to have a place to put them. I don't have a front yard. I don't have a concrete lawn out front. I don't have a nice, lush green grass to plant my sign at. So just keep that in mind. We'll put it on the wall here somewhere in the studio. We like to keep things inside of the studio. But I just want to make it fair to everyone. Just because I have an opinion, please do not feel like your opinion gets shut out because of that. You can put a sign back there. I've been trying to collect all of them. It just so happens I'm supposed to have a vote yes sign coming in as well for the Troy City School plan that they've got going on. And I just wanted to throw that out there to anyone. If they want to sign, feel free to reach out to us about it. You can do so, beautifultroyshow@gmail.com, or just hit us up on the Facebook page, facebook.com/beautifultroyshow. Well, we have just a ton to get into tonight. I remembered my water this time. We have a ton to get into. If you do want your comments voiced, just make sure to either call the phone line. That's the best way to get directly to the show tonight, just for the fact that I don't really have the chance to monitor the Facebook feed as much as I would like to. So if you do have something that you want to get out there, the call-in line is the best way to do that. But we are glad that you are here. No matter the side that you are on, this is an open platform for everybody. I, of course, am going to entertain and espouse some of my opinions, and that is why we offer our no-money-back guarantee on those. So, coming hot off the press, this one's kind of close to me. I'm a golfer. I like to golf. As I collect this ongoing disaster of opening, closing, opening. When this whole thing started, and the first day, which was Monday of last week, before I was preparing for the show, I had noticed, it was Tuesday, after the show. I had noticed, I was over at the Shell station, formerly the 55 Express, formerly the UDF. I was at the Shell station picking up an energetic beverage for the day, and I had looked across the plain. You've got a great view from that Shell station to Miami Shores Golf Course. Now, I meant to pull the actual numbers before I started the show. I ended up pulling some other numbers for something else later on in the show. But I meant to pull the numbers for the golf course because I attended the open house that they had for us, for the citizens. I believe it was last year. It was 2019. That was the year I was working on improving my golf game. And I meant to pull these numbers because we spent, I want to say it was $1.3 million on the project. They tore the old clubhouse down, and they put in a brand new one. The beautiful facility. We went there on the first day, myself and my girlfriend. I was getting her into golf last year, and I had never really given, I'm going to be honest, I had never given Miami Shores a fair shot. It had kind of been in the area. It was a public golf course. You know, that was kind of the perception of it. It was a nice place, but a little flat. Some of the areas, the last time I had golfed on it years ago before 2019, I found it to come across a little flat and dull. Maybe not well maintained. And the old clubhouse was a little bit, realistically just a pro shop, because there's intricacy to this. Believe me, when it comes to golf, there's a country club. You can't just call a public course a country club. You can't just call it a clubhouse. You can't just call it a pro shop. There's different terminology, and you will be berated on the course. Maybe not physically, but verbally if you use this jargon. I just call it whatever comes to mind. So they rebuilt this building, beautiful facility, went in there, and one of my favorite parts now is they've got the little restaurant there, the Shores restaurant, that you can eat at. They have excellent prices on beverages and food, and when you're rounding the first 9 and you come in, For the second 9, they make it very easy. And the lady who was working over there last year was very kind and got us taken care of. And it was a bit of a learning curve for them, getting everything reorganized. But now the pro shop was on the side where you could get the golf carts, and it was just easier for everyone. And they dumped a ton of money into this. It's a public course. They've worked very hard in bringing up the level of the course. It's a tough area to maintain back there because of the Miami River constantly flooding. And as was explained to me, that particular golf course is not necessarily flooding because of the river. It's flooding because of the lakes underneath. The water rises through the ground into the golf course. So the back 9 gets flooded pretty heavily, and the front 9 gets flooded pretty heavily, and they have one or the other shut down during flood season, which we are in now. We have officially reached that. The baseball fields, I saw them earlier today over off 25A, were rescinded, but there was still some water standing in them, some standing water throughout the Miami County. I believe Sydney got hit pretty hard up there from the photos that I saw. It was just rushing rivers of water out of nowhere. So the water rises through the bottom of the ground at Miami Shores. So they always have a tough battle each year in keeping the course open, keeping funds open to the course. And when this whole corona thing started, the COVID-19, they sent out a beautiful letter, which I read here on the show a couple weeks back, regarding all of the golf associations in Ohio coming together to send out a beautiful letter. I thought it was a great, good, well-crafted letter to the governor, Mike DeWine. And they sent that out, and they had listed in there everything that they planned to do. They were going to limit the use of golf carts. They were going to adjust the tee times by 2 minutes. They went from 8 minutes to 10 minutes. If you're not familiar with golf, a tee time is a time that you schedule that you will be on the first hole of your round. They were going to move that up to 10 minutes in between people being able to take the first hole on the course. So that way there'd be a 10-minute gap instead of an 8-minute gap. It might not sound like much, but in the game of golf it is. They were going to restrict it to one person per cart. I believe they were only going to make 50 carts for the day available. They were going to sanitize each cart after each use. Only one person was going to be allowed in the pro shop at a time. They were going to lock the doors. The employee would come to the door. If you needed something, he would open it, allow one person in to make the purchase. Golf is a very social distance sport. People play golf to be socially distanced. It's a nice outdoor activity, whether you're good at it or not. Miami Shores provides an opportunity for families. They've got their family night in the summers. You can go out there and just go wild. You don't have to have the group restrictions that a country club or a normal golf course would have. And there's a reason for that as well. You're only allowed 4 people, and it's, don't laugh, called a foursome on the course. You got threesomes, foursomes, twosomes, and ones, singles, guys who walk around and don't take the cart. I'm always going to take the cart. So you've got your foursome on the course. You're only allowed 4 per hole. So if you have 8 people you want to go play golf with, you have to split into 2 teams, and you have to split. You cannot be on the same hole at the same time. It creates too much of a backup. So only 4 people are allowed, 2 to the cart maximum. So they restricted it down to 1 per cart, to 50 carts per day, because they don't have that many carts over there, but they want to make sure that they are doing what they can to reduce the spread, sanitize each cart. I mean, this is a game where you bring your own equipment. Everything is yours. I think they stopped rental of anything from the pro shop. You can rent clubs. They sent this well-crafted letter to the governor expressing how in this time when the governor himself is encouraging people, and Dr. Amy Acting is out there encouraging people to get outside, this is a vital time where we need outlets like this. But they closed it down. But that first day I was out there at the Shell station and I looked at the people, that place was packed. And you may be saying, that's bad. We can't have people organizing like that right now. But you don't understand how a golf course operates, if that's the case. I saw some comment out there that said, this just allows the dudes to golf. like women don't golf. That's absurd. Every time I'm out at Miami Shores, and especially a public course, it's a great learning place for people of all ages and creeds to go out there and learn how to golf. It's an affordable price. They don't make too much off the course. And they have spent a very hard time last year, and I assume they're going to be putting in just as much effort with this wonderfully redesigned clubhouse that they have over there now, I was impressed. It had been years since I went to Miami Shores, and for the first time I ever thought about maybe possibly getting a golf membership there. I don't play golf too seriously. I've been trying to improve my game, but I had not been giving that course a fair shot. They put the driving range in out front, which I've always said that needs to be the space for a driving range out there, and they finally did that. They have to fight the flood season. A public course trying to recover its funds after a disaster like this, a disaster by our government, an absolute disaster by the local officials just following along with it, is going to be very tough for a place that we just dumped a ton of city money into, and a place where people can get out still. This is not a lockdown order. Everyone believes you have to stay at home. You are allowed to do about 80% of the things, well, I don't know, maybe 20% of the things that you were allowed to do before. About 80% of the things, on rough figures, are shut down or restricted hours. If you can still go to the park, if that's acceptable, and maintain your social distance, if you can still do that, then you can golf. And I do take offense to the fact that they think this is just the men going crazy in the house. I see elderly people golf, elderly women golf, younger women golf, kids golfing. I mean, it is a place for everyone on a public course like this. And they've put a lot of hard work into it and trying to recover after this. And you know who will take the hit at the end of the day. It will not be the golf course. But if we were to maintain facilities like this, if we pay into facilities like this as part of our city, part of the attraction to the city, we need to keep them open. So let me walk you through the news as we got it, the best that I can. If you have an opinion on golf, 937-696-7572. After receiving clarification from Miami County Public Health regarding Ohio's stay-at-home order, which it's a shelter. Was it a shelter-in-place order or a stay-at-home order? Stay-at-home. It's a stay-at-home order, okay. It's a designation of golf courses as non-essential operations. Miami Shores Golf Course has been closed effective immediately. The golf course and driving range will remain closed throughout the duration of the Ohio Department of Health stay-at-home order. Now, the driving range is automated. So you walk up, you put your bucket under it, you put your card in there. I can see some concerns with the driving range. I can see people's concerns that are the employees of the facility actually practicing the practices laid out in their letter sent to the governor. I think this whole corona issue, it's nowhere near as bad as they say. It's a lot of panic caused by people at the top levels. I think this whole issue has raised awareness. Think about this. You've had pizzas delivered to your house for how long, and you've never once thought to yourself that pizza doesn't have a lock on it. In transit, that gentleman can do, or woman can do anything that they want to do to that pizza on the way to your house. Yet all these years you've been ordering pizza, and you're just fine. And now suddenly we think that all of our health codes just aren't good enough, and we got to increase our health codes. I think maybe this has brought awareness that people aren't washing their hands enough. People aren't naturally practicing social distancing. I don't know about you, but when I go to Walmart, I stay well more than 6 feet back from everyone there. When I go to Walmart. Kroger man myself. This has raised a huge awareness, and suddenly those practices aren't good enough. We always enter facilities with the notion that any life-threatening disease or virus, bacteria could be on something. That is why we have clean running water. This is not the era of the Spanish flu. Stop comparing this to the Spanish flu. We have so many essential things. People went out and stocked up on toilet paper, but the soap shelves were the last to go. When you think about the concept of toilet paper, well, we won't go there, but sanitation on that. It's why we wash our hands after. Toilet paper is not sanitary per se. So it raises issues, and I can see people's concerns are they actually wiping down the cart? I don't know. Bring some wet ones with you. Bring some Clorox with you. It is not their responsibility to wipe down a cart. They should be doing it. But at the end of the day, you can still practice and wake up every day and live life as if it's your last day. And you can wipe down the cart yourself. Bring some stuff with you. It's not that complicated. And golf is a socially distanced sport. How does it feel I need to accomplish this point first. I was at the Shell station. I was looking over it, and there were a ton of people there on Tuesday. And I thought, well, that's great. Everyone's still getting out of the house, and they've implemented these great policies to keep the golf course clean. So it's all good at the golf course. Still get us out of the house. We'll ride through this till April 6th, which is now turning into April 30th. The order hasn't gone out yet, but when DeWine does something, he does something, or says something, he does it. So after receiving clarification from Miami County Public Health regarding Ohio's stay-at-home order, the golf course and driving range closed. The city parks remain open. However, playgrounds and basketball, tennis, and pickleball courts are closed. We don't have pickleball courts, do we? We have tennis courts that can be used for pickleball. Can you use a pickleball court or tennis court for pickleball?
Yes, there's different lines. My parents play pickleball a lot.
So the lines they're painted different.
Probably.
So it's the same court.
It is a different sport, though.
On the same court, though, the same asphalt.
It can be, yeah.
Okay, I guess we added pickleball. That's all the rage now at the parks. I remember after I went there, I think we went out to where did we go? We got some food. We got some carry-out food, went through the drive-thru. Think about this. Every time they hand your card back to you, do you wipe your card down every single time when you put it in your wallet? They have gloves on. Well, you know that when they have gloves on, they just take those same gloves and they wear them. They don't understand the concept of gloves. I've worked fast food. I've done my share of fast food. And let me tell you, just because they're wearing a glove, you don't know where that glove's been. But we all know this. We all know this. It's crazy that suddenly now people are having this. It's caused people to have this realization that, yes, there are scary things in the world. And yes, we need to be prepared for them. And this is going off the numbers that we have right now. I know everyone says they're backed up and they're going to see huge numbers explode here as soon as they get these tests in. Hundreds of thousands of people have got this thing. Do you know anyone yet who has this thing? I don't. I don't know anyone who has this thing. I know there have been some families affected in this local community of ours in Miami County that have had to deal with this virus firsthand. And that is unfortunate and sad for those families. And those families deserve every bit of grievance, every bit of sadness that comes their way. They deserve to cope with that in their own way. But I'm talking about the people of the city. I'm getting a message here. What is this? Yeah, so there's a minor hum in the microphone here. Well, we're playing Chase the Rabbit Trails tonight just because we've got so much to sort out as we're working here. There's a minor hum. I'm not going to bore you with the technical details of it. It has to do with sounds coming from the computer, getting into the audio lines and all this. This whole board was sterilized today. I took this thing apart, piece by piece, knob by knob, dusted it and cleaned it out. But there is a hum. We are aware of it, and we're working on it. It's something I've tried to solve for a decade, and I'm getting that much closer. So we went to this Wendy's. I don't know what I was saying before that. Usually I'm in here by myself, but I'm joined by one of the other moderators tonight. So we are we're jumping around a little bit here. We're playing with some ideas. But I was at the Wendy's. We went over to the park, and I posted some videos about them working on the bike path at the Troy Park. And there were some elderly folks, about 4 of them, on the tennis court playing tennis on a beautiful day to play tennis. And there was a group of a family playing basketball on a basketball court. I know that's an absurd idea to play basketball on a basketball court, but I'm not touching, guarantee you no one in the city is dunking out there. And if they are, I mean, they run the chances. They're city hoops. Those probably aren't dunk worthy. But if they are dunking, that's something they run on their own risk. But this was a family, some kids, mom and dad out there playing basketball on the court. And now we've got our mayor telling those families that she's angry at them. All in caps and stuff like that on Facebook. That's absurd. She's angry at these families for getting out of their house, getting fresh air, and utilizing a basketball court. They brought their own ball. They brought their own family. It wasn't like a group effort. And at the end of the day, we are still, by law, allowed to peaceably assemble on public property anywhere we please. They cannot stop us from doing that at the end of the day. They can put out suggestions and they can put out orders, but they cannot supersede the ultimate law that is in place in this country, and that is the Constitution. I don't mean to sound so national news here, but it says it in the Constitution. The right of the people to peaceably assemble the grievances of government. So if I have an issue with this order they've put down, or if anyone has an issue with it, or if anyone, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, has an issue with something their local government does, they can go peaceably assemble. I know the Parks Department gets, but if it's publicly accessible land, you're allowed to peaceably assemble there. You are allowed to protest. We could go right outside to the safety building mafia right now if we had an issue with them, and we could protest there. They can't take that from us. So they want to close the golf courses, and they want to do all this. And then the mayor goes out, and she's angry because she's seen or had people send her photos of these people not staying in their homes. How did you see these people out there? I don't know. It's one of us. Or then maybe, why aren't you mad at the people sending you the photos? Shouldn't they go inside too? So the city parks remain open, but don't touch anything. Don't touch the ground. Don't walk on the bike path. So now we get the next bit of news in this. The Ohio golf courses not exempt from stay-at-home. This is according to the DaytonDailyNews.com by Marcus Hartman. While Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has encouraged citizens to remain physically active despite the state being under a statewide stay-at-home order, one popular pastime appears to be out for now. On Wednesday, the Clark County Combined Health District determined golf courses are non-essential businesses, meaning they must close through April 6th. Again, I take high offense at the government calling any business non-essential. Why do people wake up in the morning? Why do you go to your job in the morning? Because you want to feel purpose. You want to feel like you're essential to someone's day. You're essential to the economy. Each and every citizen that has a job that wakes up, in my opinion, is essential. I'm a truck driver. I deal with this. I own a small trucking company. I deliver to these places. And now I get the line all the time. Without truck drivers, the economy would come to a screeching halt. Yeah, so would it with forklift operators, logistics managers, etc. It would come to a screeching halt if any of those departments took off. Same goes anywhere else. I just get up and I do my job because I'm essential and I'm part of a cog, and the cogs of the wheels must mesh. So I take offense to that. It takes a lot to offend me, per se, but the government comes out and tells you your job's not essential. And everything was functioning just fine before this order. When we had our original stay-at-home orders here in the Miami County area, which all of our local governments have gotten on board with, obviously. Because you don't go into government for the people, you go into the government to run the people's lives the way you see fit. No matter what side you're on. I say the same thing for Republicans, conservatives, liberals, and Democrats. I believe just keep the basic functions of government running and move on from there. I can take care of washing my own hands. If you have older people in your family, grandparents or whatever the case is, stay away from them. My family's practicing that right now. They've self-quarantined themselves, the people most at risk. But now my entire generation is not going to have any immunity to this thing. That's not how herd immunity... a meteor could hit us right now. Most meteors burn up in the atmosphere. But we don't know. God forbid one could come down right now. When you really start to open your mind and think about the severity of life, the shortness of life, it's not worth staying in your homes for this long. Right now we have maybe 30 people, unfortunately, very sad, have died in Ohio. We have maybe around 1,500 cases confirmed, and we're waiting for more back. And they say the numbers could reach the hundreds of thousands of people have it. But no one's looking at the recovery rate. No one's looking at how many people carry it right now and aren't showing symptoms. No one's looking at the fact we're about to enter the warm season when these things usually die. No one's looking at the past evidence, and no one's looking at the current numbers right now reporting. All the news wants to do is they want to throw a headline out to you to panic. And now we've been in our homes for about 7 days, and the traffic outside is just as normal. I watch it go by every day. It's just as normal as it's always been. You got people yelling at each other because they're not practicing the one cart, one person rule, and they're bringing their families. What do you expect single mothers to do? What do you expect single fathers to do? That right now the government has just cut them from a job. They have no income. What are they going to pay for daycare? What are they going to go spread this virus? Daycares aren't open, right? Are those essential still? The list is so goofy.
Daycares are open.
I don't think they're open.
Pretty sure they are closed.
The school, they can't send them to school.
Basically, anything with more than 10 people in close proximity is closed.
Basically, with 10 people. So all he did with this stay-at-home order is everything that was functioning just fine. He came out to small businesses that don't even have more than 10 people gathering at a time. Do more than 10? Do you think you ever have more than 10 people in your store?
Rarely.
Rarely.
Maybe a couple.
And they were wiping down the credit card machines and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have really
Well,
cut down on
we'll mic you up next week.
Yeah.
That way they can hear you. We're yelling across the room here, but we'll put a mic on you next week. He's got. We'll make the announcement now. Next week, can we count on this next week?
Yeah.
We're going to have a new parking plan for the city unveiled. Hang tight. Just because this virus has happened, I mean, this is the most parking we've ever had in a while. I got to thank the virus for that. But these numbers are nowhere near as bad as they say, and I'm going to wake up every day and live my life as if it's the last day that I've got, because anything can happen to us. So now we've got people on Facebook yelling at businesses for not... I shouldn't say yelling. This particular story, no, they weren't yelling. They did write a nice letter and they got it resolved. Civil way to handle it. But I saw people the other day complaining that people had more than one person with them at Walmart. I'm still going to go to Walmart with my girlfriend. I don't care. I wash my hands. I practice clean habits. And I move on with my life. There's only so much you can do. The more we try to control life, the more we try to control death, the more we try to play God with things, we are never going to succeed. One of the beauties of doing the show from downtown Troy is you can hear the ambiance and the noise go by. I think it's something different to a podcast, and it reminds you that this is local news. This is not a national show. This is coming directly from the city you live in or the county you live in. And that's one of my biggest goals with this. We wanted to make the people feel involved, the citizens. So if you have a problem with anything that I say tonight, 937-696-7572. Stay on hold. Our call screener will walk you through the process, and we'll get to you here in a little bit. We've got quite a few stories to get over. I like to get the stories out of the way first. That way, when we get to callers, they're well informed as to what's going on, and they can comment on any multiple thing that I've talked about. So that's my premise with this. It's my issue. And we've got the mayor. Let's go to her post down here. Before we continue with these golf course articles, let's go down here. I took a screenshot of this. And keep in mind, I voted for her. The great Robin Oda. But I voted on one thing and I got another. The mom of Ohio, I should say Troy. Dr. Amy Acting has been dubbed the mom of Ohio. Oda is the mom of Troy. She says, this is how you visit with friends. She's referring to a photo of 3 SUVs with their trunks open. And you could go to her page if you want to see it. And they're quilting in the back, practicing social distancing out of their cars. I mean, we live in an age now where people have to come up with quirky ideas so they can get them to go viral and share them. She said, this is how you visit with friends. Have a book club meeting, homework study group, knitting club, etc. Bring your snacks, a picnic, whatever. Which now we're doing, first it was go to the park, now it's just go quilt. The large group, kids or adults, last evening in the Hobart Arena parking lot was not okay. All in caps. And using your cars to do donuts in our brand new parking lot at the arena? Absolutely inexcusable. Do donuts on your own property. I don't know, you can't park a camper on the grass in this city, so they probably are going to take issue with that. On your own property. Been there, done that. This is the kind of behavior that will take us into a total lockdown. Not okay. How dare you thumb your nose at the precautions we are all living under right now? Yes, I'm angry. That's not quite the political way that I would have handled that. But here she is telling you, don't do this, don't do that. And the issue I think she was most upset about is the brand new Hobart Arena parking lot, which I am excited to see the improvements they've made at Hobart Arena. That means that we can get bigger, more national bands in here. Local bands will have a better platform and outlet. They've put a lot of improvements into an aging building. I think it's a good thing. I didn't have any issues with the Hobart renovations. Parking design was different than what I was used to growing up after 23 years here. but it's not a big deal. I don't know if they're still able to do the Wheeler School driver's ed on that lot anymore. But that has always been a car meet place. If it's not down here at the downtown quadrants, it's always been a car meet place. And doing donuts is not necessarily a great idea. But pavement, and I don't think government understands how roads work, judging from 41, pavement erodes with travel, rain, weather. Those marks will go away. It's not that big of a deal. And then the issue became something about, are they kids or adults? I'm 23. People still call me a kid. I own a business. I do this show. I pay rent. I live in the city. I pay taxes. And I still get called a kid. So I don't know what their definition of kid is. It was probably adults. I've talked to a lot of these, to play their own game, kids down here at the Quadrant when they're out here late at night. And they're usually very nice people. And there's an update on this story. I'll get around. It's not all negative. They're usually pretty nice people. They want to show off their colors, honk a little bit, cause a little bit of hell. They're kids. So she did post earlier today, update on the issue. I have been contacted by a young man who was a participant in this rally. He and I discussed what can be done to help avoid this kind of scenario again. The social distancing is a huge right now. Proofread, proofread, proofread. And we also discussed the donuts in the parking lot issue. Looking forward to working with them to make sure they can enjoy their next event and at the same time be responsible in what Governor DeWine has asked that we do. Very happy that this young man contacted me. Oh, I bet. Hey, there goes one right now. Been an influx of the Rice Gang here in Troy. And look, I don't hate them for the noise. Make it sound better. That's my problem. If you got a good sound and exhaust, but when you go to AutoZone and snap on a Flowmaster under there, all right? But they're just having fun. Kids have been doing this forever. And America was based on fast cars, women, and rock and roll at one point. And now we all complain that the kids are having fun with their cars out in the streets. Well, the Hobart parking arena, which it is kind of unfortunate. It's a new facility. It's very nice. And I don't think that parking lot is the best one for donuts. I could actually go on, give you some other ideas. BeautifulTroyShow@gmail.com of better parking lots. The curbs that they put into the Hobart Arena, it's just not ideal anymore. So for your safety, honestly, get out of that parking lot and go do your donuts somewhere else. But they did have a resolution there. They civilly discussed it. I'm glad to see she kind of calmed down on the issue. And I've been here before. Everyone thinks that Facebook is the outlet. She is probably the most socially active mayor we've ever had. I don't believe Mayor Squeamish had much of a social presence on Facebook. He was just a nice old mayor, you know? I mean, he was the typical city mayor. And I don't mean that in a bad way or a good way. I'm just saying he was a mayor. And the mayors usually don't have too much power in the city. It usually comes down to the city council. So I don't pay too much mind to what the mayor says. She's been very active in keeping city updates. She posts a lot of articles on her Facebook page. It's a great source of information for Troy. But I know for a fact, I've experienced it firsthand, I've made these mistakes in my life. Diarrhea of the keyboard will get you nowhere. All in caps will get you nowhere. Being angry at your constituents or your citizens will get you nowhere. And usually it leads to something like this. You get on there in the heat of the moment and you post something out and boom, someone contacts you and you got to update the story and it's a completely different issue. And then you may be embarrassed or maybe, I don't know, trying to keep her image on that. She's moved us in the right direction in some places, regressed us in others. According to my opinion, BeautifulTroyShow@gmail.com if you have one, or 937-696-7572. So right now she is taking this very anti-outdoors approach, following what the governor says. He is the dad and mom of Ohio. I don't need your nanny state, and I don't need some doctor to tell me to wash my hands. Apparently, a lot of this generation does now. And that does for this whole scenario has just made me realize what's happened in the country, in our local towns. Everyone's panicking. And they're buying toilet paper. They're just following the advice we've been giving them for years, which is get ready because it's not the virus that's done this. The virus has not caused mass stockpiling. It's the media and the government, our local governments, enforcing this. people want the police department to do something about it. I've got what the police department wants to do about this, and the sheriff's department. They don't want to do anything about it. And I don't blame them. You can't just stop people because they're out on the street. Give me your essential papers. That's not going to fly very well. So the Ohio golf courses are not exempt from the stay-at-home order. I think that's where we started all this off at. He's encouraged the citizens to remain, he being Mike DeWine, physically active, despite the state being under that statewide stay-at-home order. On Wednesday, the Clark County Combined Health District determined golf courses are non-essential businesses, meaning they must close through April 6. The first question we ask when we are considering these decisions is the business essential to Clark County, Ohio, or the United States to continue operating and providing necessary resources for people? Emma Smales, Public Information Officer for the CCCHD, said in an email, "There will be a few exceptions, but golf courses are not one of them," she continued. The spirit of the order is to stay at home because they know they can't enforce this. They got to use words like the spirit, we're all one big team, whatever. Nothing I haven't heard at any job. In response to an attempt to confirm that position, the ODH Public Information Specialist Rachel Feely wrote an email, "We cannot directly interpret the order for others," and cited a passage from the act signed by ODH Director Amy Acting. All places of public amusement, whether indoors or outdoors, including, but not limited to, locations with amusement rides, carnivals, amusement parks, water parks, aquariums, zoos, blah, 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 blah. Anywhere where people have fun, gather, shall be closed. Prior to Thursday, multiple courses in Clark County remained open. We have also spoken with Governor DeWine's office about this, and they confirmed we are to follow local jurisdiction. The Urbana Country Club's website said its course remained open for members, but not guests. People are paying to be a member there, and might I add, you pay a substantial, it's in the thousands of dollars to be a member of a country club each year. So they're paying for this. They better keep it open for their members or offer them a refund. But how is any business supposed to survive in that? So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take comments that didn't age well for 500.
Daily Double.
Golf courses can remain open after state reverses decision, DaytonDailyNews.com. In an 11th hour decision, quite like the election, golf courses in Ohio may remain open during the coronavirus pandemic after the Ohio Department of Health reversed its position this weekend. That doesn't mean every course in the Miami Valley will be open for business this week. Yeah, because you throw them one way and they got to close and they got to figure out how to close and they got to tell everyone, hey, you are not working for a couple of weeks. Everyone gets prepared for this, and then you just reverse it wishy-washy again. Everyone's been drilled the election date in their head. You reverse it at the last minute after everyone goes to bed. And then we're back to June 2nd now, pushed away 3 months, but now we're doing April 28th. It'll be counted in May, and I don't know about you, but do you really trust the Miami County Board of Elections to count your votes after last debacle? 6,000 votes? It didn't affect anything. Now they're doing all paper ballots, mail in. People aren't going to want to go out and mail them in. People aren't. I know it's silly. You throw a stamp on it, you print it off, throw a stamp on it. Okay, maybe people are trying to conserve their printer ink right now because they don't have a job. Maybe they don't want to. You make up any reason you want. It's not for government to say what is a reasonable excuse or not. They need to provide the best way for everyone to vote and not throwing it around constantly like this. But printer ink sales should be on the rise due to all the signs plastered on businesses' doors they've had to print out in the last few weeks. It could be a plus. But it doesn't mean that every course in the Miami Valley will stay open for business. Many closed on various dates in March. Some remained open until the Ohio Department of Health deemed them non-essential businesses on Thursday, ruling they would have to remain closed until April 2nd or 6th. Steve Jurek, executive director of the Miami Valley Golf Association, recommended golfers call courses to see if they're open. He said whether they remain open depends on their local health department, which is the ultimate ruler when it comes to individual operations. And we've already seen how the mayor is kind of handling this whole stay-at-home order, and everyone in the city is panicking. I'm hard-pressed to find any comments on any article that I see on Facebook that isn't people pleading for others to stay home and just wanting to just take this. They're setting a terrible precedent. According to the Northeast Ohio Golf Association and the Ohio Department of Health sent an email to local health departments on Saturday night saying courses can remain open as long as they adhere to social distancing guidelines, which they already sent them in a well-crafted before. It's like they never read that, and then suddenly I forgot this email that was on our desk earlier. And it's like they didn't even read that. And now they're like, well, that does make sense. Maybe we should just kind of reverse this, and maybe no one will notice. But now it's already been put out there, and I haven't been able to confirm with Miami Shores. I did not see anyone over there today. It's a Monday, not a big golf day, a little bit cold out. That could be why. I'm not sure if they plan to reopen, if they're just going to ride this out to the 6th now, maybe try and take this time to manicure the lawns. Driving range is looking phenomenal, by the way. Very excited. This is a statement golf courses were given. If your golf course is operating as an outdoor recreation opportunity and abiding by all the other social distancing requirements, which keep in mind they did close the Shores restaurant and they closed the pro shop to only one person at a time, there is likely not a health concern. However, if the golf course is operating other businesses as part of the operations, restaurants, clubhouse, spa, driving range, putting and practice greens, etc., then you should be prepared to explain why you deem those business operations essential. Remember, if you are running an essential business, you have a responsibility to make sure that physical distancing and other protective measures are being adhered to, which they sent them in the letter before they closed them. And now it's like they read the letter and it suddenly clicked for once. Jurek doesn't expect local health departments to make their own rulings on the state's order right away. That could take days. Shocker when it comes to government. If or when local courses reopen, Jurek expects them to make adjustments to how they handle tee times, spacing them out by 10 minutes or so to ensure golfers aren't grouped close together, which they sent them in the letter. They were doing that. So that is the golf debacle here in Miami County. If you're a golfer and you need out of the house, you've been locked in there for a week, man or woman, because both of them golf, rich and poor, there's always an opportunity to golf. It's not a sport that not everyone can get. Everyone can get out and golf. You can rent clubs. It's not that expensive if you just want to go try it out for once. You know, if you start getting into it and golfing every other day or weekend, I mean, it can get expensive, but, you know, that's what the point of the public course is. Fair-priced menu over there. Nice little place for the bike trails to stop at, the people on the bike trails to stop at. Everyone can get out there and golf at Miami Shores, and they already have a tough enough time with that, so I come to their defense on that. I don't have a bias. I know I golf. But that is the reason I hold that I nor government can deem what is essential and what is not. I'm not just going to come out and be like, oh, now I have a problem with it because it affects something in my life. You must protect the rights and the opinions and the voice of other people as well. And that's, again, the point of this show. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I will stand here or sit here, I should say. This isn't a 70s jock studio where we're slinging off carts everywhere and we got to stand for it. I will sit here and defend that right to do so. That's why we started Troy Ohio Citizens 2.0, up to 350 citizens now. I want to say thank you for that. That's a very impressive feat. We just let the group be opened. We adhere to the Facebook terms of service. Anything illegal in nature will have to go. Other than that, it's free game. Say what you want. It's your opinion over there. It's your city. You live here. No matter your political point of view, you have something that affects you when you walk out of the door. It could be what I say. It could be what someone else says. You have a voice. You have a right. So now we go on to the next subject that we have here. Let's see. I think we got someone on the line over here. We got two callers on the line here. Let's take one of them now. We'll get a story off, and then we'll swing to the next one real quick. I'm going to try spacing callers throughout the show. We're going to see how that goes, and then maybe next week we'll make a decision on how that works. So let's see here if I can remember how to take a call. We've got, looks like a returning champion to the Troy Show. It looks like we have Brad on the line from Troy, ready to talk to us. Let's bring him in. Brad, are you there?
Hello, Kyle. How you doing tonight?
Excellent, Brad. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. You were talking about the parks earlier, and WLWP out of Cincinnati reported something this afternoon that I think you might be interested in.
Go for it. I'll start here. That's what we'll do here. I failed to tell you when your minute started. It's something I'm trying to do because when you call into the show, you've got a little bit of a conversational piece at the beginning just to connect with the caller. So while you read that, I'll go ahead and start your timer, and we'll get you on your way, Brad. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to summarize it here. Apparently, people have been going out and ignoring the stay-at-home order and have been congregating in great numbers in the local parks. So, according to Governor DeWine, he says, and I quote, "We will have a new order in the next several days dealing with crowded parks." Now, I'd like to know, and before I called in today, I was on, and I'll get to this in a little bit, I'd like to know how the heck they're going to enforce the closure of playgrounds and restrooms in public parks. I mean, I'm going to ask you to break your minute rule on this one, Kyle, because I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, if you haven't shared them already.
No, yes. That is the next article on the stack here, Brad, and we'll hold you on the line here for just a second while I answer your question on that. And that minute, and this goes for everyone, not just Brad, but anyone who calls in, that minute is yours. That's where you kind of get to host the show. So if you want to cut it short, you're welcome to do that. It's your minute. So never be worried about that, Brad. But here, I've got an article for you here. It says, Mayor tapes off park equipment to reinforce order. Some were ignoring governor's social distancing directive. Now, this is not our Mayor Oda doing this. This is the Huber Heights Mayor, I believe, Jeff Gore, doing so. It says here...
I read that same article.
Yeah, it says Huber Heights Mayor Jeff Gore has decided to tape off the public playgrounds in his city to further... His city, not the citizen, his city, to further encourage social distancing. Earlier this week, Governor Mike DeWine ordered all public playgrounds closed to stop the spread of the coronavirus. But not everyone has listened. Gore posted on Facebook that when the weather was nice this week, he saw many children and their parents on the playgrounds, and it worried him. It worried him that he saw parents and kids on playground equipment when the weather is nice. I'm going to read that again and let that soak in. He saw that children and their parents on the playgrounds, and it worried him in weather that was nice. I'm an extremely social person myself, and I hate not being around my friends and at work at Wayne, but I'm doing what's being asked by the governor and Dr. Amy Acting. And I'm asking all of you to please do the same, his post said. We are in a situation now where our decisions can have a direct impact on others in our community. Now, there's something I wanted to touch on here, Brad, because
go right ahead.
Here's the issue. My brother lives in the Huber Heights area, and he was reading some comments on Facebook, and he was noticing a theme. He had noticed that some people, this was not a directive of the government, this was not official people in the government commenting on this, but he had noticed some people bringing up the idea that CPS should take their kids because of child endangerment on the playgrounds in our local community because they are taped off or whatever the case is. That is why I put that article in the stack tonight, because our mayor in the next article or thing here, she was also had a post. I don't know if I grabbed that one. She's got so many like this that I have to screen grab. And she went off on a rage that at the parks it was not acceptable that she saw people out and about on our park equipment that we pay good dollars for, might I add. So take that for what you will, Brad. I think you make up a great point there about that.
And
they can't enforce it.
I'm sorry, I was out at the dog park the other day. Didn't mean to cut you off. I was out at the dog park the other day with my dog, and I happened to run into a lady who works for the Miami County Sheriff's Department. Mm-hmm. She is a school resource officer out at Bethel when the schools are open. Of course, now she's out on the road because the schools are closed. She told me the Miami County Sheriff's Department isn't even going to enforce the order.
No, we've got that here too. I've got the order from the Troy Police, TPD, and the Sheriff's Department. They're not going to enforce this, and no one with a brain would enforce this. It's not a good idea to enforce it. You can't.
Well, and Governor DeWine, for all the good he's doing, he is basing this, he's taking something that is based on an assumption and running with it. Because I was on the phone for about 35 minutes tonight before I called in here with State Representative Powell. And I said, how is this enforcing the order? She says the models. She talks about the models. Well, what if the models are wrong? We've done all this for nothing.
Mm-hmm. And if you haven't noticed, these models are actually getting a smaller percentage of, I believe, fatalities than they expected. So already their models are starting to crumble, and the media and the government keep throwing the hundreds of thousands, and our local communities here are reinforcing those numbers. Not one municipality that I know of is fighting back. I've got articles here about West Milton opening up a state of emergency in their town as well, and that, of course, is to do reasonable things like suspend penalties for water payments and cutoffs and things like that. So, Brad, thanks for your call tonight. Thanks for the great points that you're bringing up. And
well, I got one more real quick.
Sure, fire it off.
Before I go. In my conversation with Jenna Powell, I brought up the subject about the election. I said, if our Secretary of State is supposed to be our elections officer, why does he not have the power to reset the election date? Of course, last week the Ohio legislature went into an emergency session and changed the date on the election. And she told me, well, it's the law. It's in the Constitution. I said, well, you lawmakers had better get on changing the Constitution and the laws then.
100%.
I'm sorry, the Secretary of State should not have to go running. And I didn't say this to her, but my thought on this is this. The Secretary of State should not have to go running to get legislative approval to change an election. If he's our chief elections officer, that should be his job.
Yes. And none of those people there are there because they want to follow exactly how government works or how it was set up originally. They're there because they want to implement their agenda on how they see fit for people's lives to be ran. So that's another excellent point added to the stack there. Brad, thanks so much for calling in tonight, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future as well.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Yep. Stay safe, Brad. All right. So the next thing that I want to move on here is to add to his point, because he had a great point about DeWine's comments and these modules that they are using to tell us that it's going to be worse than we expect. So DeWine's biggest word, epidemic. We got the heroin epidemic. We've got the vape epidemic. Now we've got the virus epidemic. They love using that word. We have now set a precedent that when this all settles, because let's take the numbers, about 70% of Ohioans are expected to get the coronavirus. Not all of them are going to die. Not even all of them are going to show symptoms. They're expected to get the coronavirus. We're expected to see, deaths maybe in the thousands, maybe in the hundreds, out of an 11.69 million. And most of these people, while sad when anyone passes away and something that each person has to deal with in their own way, a lot of them have been over 70. If you live past 70, you're outliving the expected life expectancy rate. You're getting extra years of life. Well, I've got a note being handed to me. We'll go ahead and hand it over here. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yep. Well, I've got it in the notes here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've got a call screener, and then we've got our other moderator here.
Messages, so he wants me to relay them.
Yeah, the software that we have here, it allows me to see what the caller is going to get a general idea of what they're going to talk about before they go on the air. So yeah, we've got that here. So we do know we've got them. I can see everyone in the queue right now. But DeWine has had this thing about vaping, which was all proved fake. It was proven fake. Yet it has suffered local businesses here. Nothing I'm going to go into detail about, but it has suffered local vape stores in our area. Right? Whether you agree with vaping or not, you don't have to. I'm not here to defend that. I'm just saying it was proven fake what they were saying. They were going off of related illnesses. I was at the rally. I heard what they all had to say about it over at the State House in Columbus. Related illnesses and things like that. Now this has given them precedent whenever they want to say, because a lot of these deaths, some of them aren't even related. They just happen to have coronavirus or tested positive for coronavirus. The autopsy hasn't shown what exactly they died from. So, and I believe in the case of the nursing homes around here, I believe that those all four were related to the coronavirus. But we're still waiting. There's so many numbers that have to come in yet. We are underprepared. I do agree with them. We are underprepared to deal with this virus and to flush out all the tests that we need to be done and get the results back quickly. I do believe we're underprepared for that, and government's handling it. So there you go. Go figure. So now in the future, if I don't know, 30 people, because he laid out far larger numbers on this vape thing that Mike DeWine put out a while ago, far larger numbers of what this was affecting, and the millions of people who die from cigarette-related. I'm not sitting here saying you can't smoke them, and the government shouldn't be either. And I think we're naturally phasing those out. I think my generation specifically is naturally coming around to the alternatives or to just not doing it at all. And I don't blame anyone who's ever smoked. It's not my business. It's not my problem. It does not determine their character, in my opinion. So now we can come out and say, well, it's a state of emergency on vaping is killing 40 people or whatever number you want to throw out. It's all fake anyway right now. Is killing these amount of people. We need to shut the vape stores down. I mean, he's already willing to shut any business down he needs to for a state of emergency, not care about the... We understand the problems that are going to occur, but it just has to be done. Sorry. And people are suffering from it. Take that for what you will. I think that's the precedent that it's set now, that the government can come in, apparently even federal, or not federal judge, but judges in Franklin County that ruled against them changing the election date for our local area here. And now putting your votes in the hands of the Miami County Board of Elections. It's going to take a while for them to... We're going to be ragging on them for a minute about that. But we should hold them to a high standard. Those are our votes. Those are our voices at the end of the day. So the mayor, there's some reports of maybe people wanting CPS called in Huber Heights for shutting down the parks. And our mayor is on board with shutting down our parks and taping them off. And I'm not putting words in her mouth. I'm not setting that image. I'm just telling you the natural progression of things, of the public opinion getting louder and louder on that matter, and it might lead to something like that. It's a dangerous precedent. Did you put a pineapple ice cube in my water?
Possibly.
Something clicking around in there. It's a little tray dish of pineapple-shaped ice cubes. But all right, let's go to another call here. Let's get another one in. We've got, let's see here. Looks like Zach from Sydney is wanting to talk here. Let's see here. I'm going to take this call in the queue right here because I don't trust clicking that other button. Let's find out. We're going to take Zach from Sydney. Zach, are you on?
Kyle, how are you, buddy?
Good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Hey, just wanted to comment on something from you said a little bit ago about the Hara Arena,
Hobart Arena.
Yeah. Hobart. Wrong age.
Well, I'll go ahead and start your minute, and you go ahead and throw what you're thinking our way.
Sweet.
All right, your minute
Good.
starts.
So, all right. So you mentioned her Facebook shouting. The thing of it is I know some of those guys personally, and to be quite frank, that's just going to egg them on. So I'm kind of glad that, to see that she came back and was like, look, someone reached out to me and, we spoke about it and yada, 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 because honestly, I think it was just going to draw even more, it was just going to do the opposite of what she wanted. So it was kind of good to actually see for once that she went ahead and kind of backtracked her statement a little bit, came back in a more positive light. So that's that. And then as you were talking about the graphs that they're releasing, Senator Portman on Twitter actually just posted recently, the projected peak is 10,000 down from 62,000. So please explain how we dropped 52,000 on a peak case of COVID-19. Because
they're making an argument is what they're doing. They're making an argument and they're pulling whatever number they can to back their argument. Again, it's not about enforcing what the will of their constituents wants. It's not about just collecting data on, okay, we have 40,000 constituents in the state that want this to happen and we have 50. It's not like a democracy in that sense. They've got their own political game that they're playing. That's just how the wheels of government work, and they're going to just take numbers like, for instance, presumptive positive, because they have to get it back from the CDC. Words like, what's the other one they do? Correlated to or related deaths, but they don't report on all the other unhealthy issues of the person who have died from coronavirus, so forth, so on. Like the one, I heard another show talking about this, that a gentleman that they knew was healthy and rather young, I want to say probably 30s to 50s, I didn't get the age, but he was healthy and young and nothing wrong with him, no pre-existing. He got coronavirus. Okay, that should sound bad, right? Like, oh, even young, healthy people can get it. Well, no, because he lived. They don't report that, though.
Right.
Now,
right.
I want to get back to your comment, because you mentioned the people at Hobart Arena here in Troy.
Correct.
And I'm assuming you're into the car scene because you know some of these people. And
I am.
I know as well as you do, I believe, that egging people on in that sense or making social media posts to that particular generation, of which I am a part, and it's not going to end well, and I don't think they've ever caught on to that. That's why our leaders need to be very careful with their social media. And these are lessons a lot of our generation has already learned and already knows how to handle. So I'm kind of waiting to see, because it sounds odd. Do you think, knowing these people, because I was wondering about this, is it common for someone in the group to reach out to the powers that be? Is that something that, I mean, are these guys just genuine, like, hey, we just want to do some donuts? Like, would you report that? Would you call a city official or talk it out?
No, from most of the guys that I know and have been around, they tend to be pretty anti-authoritarian. They tend to be, I don't want to say the outcast because that's not the case, but they're not ones to reach out to the mayor and be like, oh, well, this is why we did it. Or so I think that might have been my opinion, obviously, but my opinion was that is 100% just them, her trying to save face.
I think that could be the case because the way she worded it was like they reached out, but I mean, I'm going to guess that maybe they caught them or they got someone that's talking. I don't know exactly, but she worded it in a political way. I understand. She's a mayor. She's got to do what she's got to do politically. I understand that. Now, there's a car that's been going around town. Sounds terrible, kind of cool, but it sounds like an AK-47 or a rifle being fired off rapidly, like tap fire. And I was it's over by the Stony Ridge areas where it's commonly been reported in the city. I've seen a post in Citizens a couple weeks ago, and I heard it for myself when I was over in that area the other day, right there on the edge of town. And my girlfriend asked, what was that? And I said, well, don't you remember the Citizens post about that car? And next thing you know, we saw two cops flying by, and we followed them down there. And then there was a third one in the Stony Ridge complex apartments there. And I think it was some guys working out front. And they didn't do anything about it. I don't know if they could find him or not. I wasn't able to confirm any of that. But I heard him go by earlier today. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that these people are allegedly not caring about too many codes or laws as far as vehicles are concerned. Would I be correct in thinking that as someone from the car scene?
I would say it's 50-50. So what it sounds like to me, what you're hearing is someone for what we call a popcorn tune. It's basically just the massive amount of excess fuel that gets dumped and therefore backfires. Fairly common. There's a few of them around here. I can rough guess of who it is. But that's what it sounds like. I mean, for the most part, guys they'll skirt the law. They'll break, I mean, tent laws are absolutely ridiculous. So obviously that's probably one of the biggest ones that gets broke. Fortunately, being that Ohio doesn't really have emission standards or emission laws, and things like that, there's really no law breakage there, which is, nice. But I would say most of the people that I know, they take pride in their cars. They're not ones to try to outright just be like, well, this law says this, therefore, and screw it, I don't care.
Sure. Well, to close it out real quick.
I would say, I mean, I would just say it was,
Well, what's your stance on the donuts thing? I mean, that's kind of the one area there where I can see her point a little bit. I can see it a little bit. And it's not really a good parking lot for it, to be honest.
Correct. Well, one, you're 100% correct. It's not a good parking lot for it. Those curbs are kind of scary.
Yeah.
And I absolutely get it. I get where she's coming from with that. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, and I know, if you go to the Dayton car scene, it's a little more wild, and donuts and burnouts are absolutely common.
Well, the taxpayers have dumped a lot of money into Hobart Arena. The taxpayers have dumped a lot of money in there. It's technically like a private, property. You shouldn't be doing that on there. So I get her point there. I think, as always, it comes down to how you put it out in text on social media can always kind of hurt you a little bit. So that's kind of the message there. That's more of my issue there. Was like, that's a bit harsh, but she seems to have come back from that, whether it's saving face or she genuinely had a conversation with these people, because the people I encounter in the downtown at night while they're out showing their cars are usually pretty civil. Other than being a little bit loud, they're usually pretty civil. So, Zach, thanks for adding some insight into that matter there, expressing your opinion on that. Always helpful to get local communities, because I don't always hold the answers. I really don't. So that's why we have the phone lines open. And sometimes my opinion can change on things based on that. So, Zach, once again, thanks for calling in. Don't drown. Get your floaties out up there in Sydney.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. All right. If you want to call in, 937-696-7572. And once again, a big stay safe and hope everyone's okay up there in Sydney. That was Zach from Sydney. They had a lot of flooding over the weekend. So everyone up in Sydney, hang tight up there. Get your boats out. Get your rafts. Can you build a boat out of toilet paper with some Flex Seal, maybe?
I was going to say you could build a Flex Seal.
If you were smart, you would have stocked up on Flex Seal for the flood season here.
I got some Flex tape.
You got some Flex tape.
It'll do me good.
All right, let's navigate. Let's swim on through the stack here. Miami County. Now, this is a good one. I hope everyone of all sides gets a laugh out of this title, this headline from the Troy Daily News.net. Melania Yingst, or Melania, do you think Melania? Melanie. I always known her as Yingst.
Wait, what?
Melania. That's
Melania.
Melania Yingst.
You're talking about Yinks.
That's her last name, is Yingst.
It's Trump.
No, the first lady is Melania. This lady's last name is Yingst. Not everyone who's named Melania is the first lady. It's the writer of the article.
You said Melania. I just thought.
No, I'm not reading. Melania Trump did not write an article for the Troy Daily News. But Melania Yingst from the Troy Daily News.net, which she has wrote one of my articles that I was featured in, one of my features. And I'd like to make that 3. I've been featured in 2, maybe 3, but 2, I know for sure, Troy Daily News.net articles. One when I was a kid working on a wagon out front, and then the second one back from my terrestrial days. She wrote that article. And why would you not want to put this face at the top of the page? I made the front page, but I was second down. Everyone always said, I have the face for radio. I have the face not fit for radio. All right. Let's see. You're just hippies. While the state has mandated the closure of schools and indoor recreation, residents are flocking to its park systems in search of fresh air and to enjoy the outdoors during the shelter-in-place order through April 6th. The headline is Miami County Park District attendance soars. You don't say. And then as soon as it soars and they see the highest numbers of people outside since Pokemon Go, they call everyone back in and they close all the equipment and say you're spreading too many germs and whatnot. While the state has mandated the closures of schools and indoor recreation, the residents are flocking to the parks. Miami County Parks Executive Director Scott Myers says, it's a great time for us to provide a solution for people to get outside and try to have some normalcy in their lives and get out of the mental and physical standpoint. Last week, park rangers had to control parking and traffic at Charleston Falls Preserve, the county's most popular park located in the southern part of the county near Huber Heights. During the Park District's Board of Park Commissioners meeting on Thursday, held via video conference, Myers said more than 3,000 visitors at the Charleston Falls Park were recorded on Wednesday, as well as the weekend and parking overflow was an issue. Park gates were used to control traffic by the rangers to keep the park from overcrowding. Crowds also were observed at Stillwater Prairie Reserve and Maple Ridge Reserve parks near Covington, one of the big cities. Myers said staff has been posting on social media to encourage the public to visit its other parks within its system. Board members, Dr. Robert Malarkey, said he's... no offense, but I feel bad that's... Yeah, Robert Malarkey said he's seen an increase in visitors at the Hobart Urban Nature Preserve. Elizabeth Gutman said she has enjoyed seeing whole families together at Stillwater during the last few weeks. Well, our mayor has not enjoyed seeing whole families at the park.
Dude.
Don't dude me, you long-haired yahoo!
Eat a Snickers.
Why?
Because you're a cranky old man when you're hungry.
I think she could calm down a little bit on the issue there. But crowds were also observed at the Stillwater Prairie Reserve and Maple Creek. It's one upside of all of this. So the Miami County Park District attendance has soared amidst the coronavirus and warnings from your mayor. Almost said mom for some reason. Visitor Bureau is now bracing for impacts from pandemic. Sam Wildo of Miami Valley Today. On Thursday, Miami County Visitors and Convention Bureau Executive Director Leon Stewart met with the Miami County Commissioners during their work session. Stewart said that they have a number of shops and local businesses being dramatically affected by the virus and the state's order to stay home. And they admit this all the time. It's just and I get the local jurisdictions have a hard time dealing with it because it comes from the state and they want to be in good graces with the state because of funding. I understand these. I understand the inner political workings of government, and that's how the system is. I can still have my opinion on it, and so can you. The Visitors and Convention Bureau gets the majority of its revenue from county's lodging tax. This is obviously going to affect our organization greatly, Stewart said. Stewart said they are thinking about other avenues to raise funds, but she expects the travel and tourism industry to be one of the first industries to rebound following the end of the pandemic. Stewart also said the 2019 Tour de Donut in Troy had approximately 2,988 cyclists, which has a 10% increase from 2018. The Great Ohio Bicycle Adventure, GOBA, is also expected to return to Miami County this year. Stewart said if it gets canceled due to the coronavirus, GOBA has already committed to coming back next year. So they are bracing for an impact there, but they believe this will increase tourism. It absolutely will if you'll allow people to come gather and tour the city. But nothing's open to see down here right now. So, I mean, that isn't obvious. Park attendance will soar. People will start buying vegetables for once. Not eating them. They're just going to rot in a cupboard. Or a fridge. But they will buy them in sheer panic, and they will have a lot of toilet paper, and they'll be fined for years. Now, West Milton declares a state of emergency. The village of West Milton has officially declared a state of emergency, joining a growing list of municipal governments that have issued similar declarations in response to the recent outbreak of COVID-19. Union Township has already done it. Municipal manager Matthew Klein said, Miami County has already done it. The city of Troy is getting ready to do it, which we already have. Day 13 of the state of emergency started on March 17th of Troy, Ohio. Tip City is getting ready to do it, and so is Covington. All of the big cities. The big cities around here. I don't know. They can never make up their mind. Are we a small local hometown? Are we a big city? What are we? I like to view Troy as kind of being in the middle, getting a great mixture of both. We've got a lot of great big city expansion on that side of town. We still have the historic buildings and the historic schools. So everything there is still intact. We'll get rid of some of that buzz when we're not taking calls. So all the big cities are doing it, so we should all have to do it. We got to follow. It's like when one city builds a new school, the surrounding ones all want to build a new school. It's just the inner working of politics. Everyone wants to leave their legacy, which, by the way, get your life rafts out if you plan on visiting Treasure Island and going over there. It is shockingly, surprisingly, for the first time in history, Treasure Island off of 25A is flooded. Absolutely decimated by water. But the lighthouse is standing, so while you're out there in your rafts trying to avoid the coronavirus with your rolls of toilet paper, a lighthouse will be the beacon to guide you to a closed restaurant.
So is it now a real island?
It's always been called Treasure Island. It floods every year. We do this every year. And Beamish put this thing in a long time ago where his legacy was to leave a mark on the city. And that was Treasure Island. And then we have a lighthouse. And I believe the entire renovation of the tiny amphitheater and the lighthouse, you'll never guess, government managed to make it 7 figures. And it's flooded every year. But they hold some events over there at the amphitheater. It does look better in the Boathouse restaurant down there, looking and tasting better than ever. But it is a very nice restaurant. I've been meaning to go forever. Girlfriends went, and she said it's very nice on the inside. But, yeah, that's flooded. No shocker there. So West Milton following suit with everyone else. They've got a state of emergency. And again, the state of emergency, I explained this last show. I believe it induces panic when you do this, but the way government works right now, they have to declare one in order to do things like suspend late water penalties and suspend shutoffs. So they have to. So the state of emergency doesn't really change anything unless they want to change something, other than little things like that actually do help people. You know, we've actually had a good discussion, and the city council has met us halfway with the water shutoffs, but they do expect you to pay your bill if you can't due to funds, I think by May, in full. So if we're doing this till April 30th now, which it looks like we will be doing, about a month and a half, maybe 2 months of not getting a salary, you will be expected to pay your water bill in full in May. No penalties for paying it late, obviously, and you won't get your water shut off if you can't pay, but you are expected to pay it, and they do encourage people to pay a little bit that they can. So if you're one of these people affected by the shutdown, and throw them $1. Got to be quicker than that. We got TroyFoundation.org, their response to COVID-19. I was going to go over this. It's their Troy Emergency Response Fund, the TERF, is what they're calling it, TERF. But seeing that it is $100,000, that I'm going to call it the Surf and Turf, which is Ron from Parks and Recreation, he explains that the best. But setting aside $100,000 initially to quickly distribute resources to organizations in Troy that are working with residents affected by the coronavirus outbreak. The fund will award grants on a rolling basis to nonprofits that support vulnerable populations that have been stressed by the outbreak. The Troy Foundation just recently also gave $100,000 to the Veterans Museum, now relocated over on 25A. I got some pictures of that up in the Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 group, facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio Citizens. If you want to see their new location, or just drive by it over there on 25A. It's over by the other golf range in town, Long Shots, right there at the old Irwin location. And it looks nice. They're funding their goals. That was a good donation there. This is also great what the Troy Foundation is doing here. I'm having a little fun with it, poking a little fun, but it is a good thing. The fund will award grants on the rolling basis for nonprofits. So the city of Troy will be contributing to the emergency fund. They got to get in on it. In the midst of this national health crisis, the city of Troy is pledging $30,000 to the Troy Emergency Response Fund to help in assisting our community nonprofits as they seek to continue expand their services to residents, said Robin Oda, mayor of Troy. The foundation would like to thank the city of Troy for their quick response to support the Troy Emergency Response Fund. The foundation has long-term relationships with the nonprofits in our community and is equipped to get their needs through the turf. The outbreak will continue to have a significant impact on members of our community who have the least ability to prepare for it. Well, if you don't shut it all down, maybe get a backbone, we wouldn't have to be doing that, but that's where it's going now. But those wishing to contribute because to be fair and balanced here as best I can, without my gigantic ego getting in the way, those wishing to contribute to the Troy Emergency Response Fund can do so in the following ways. Online, visit the donate page to make a donation by credit card. Mail, send a check payable to the Troy Foundation. Troy Emergency Response Fund to the Troy Foundation at 216 West Franklin Street, Troy, Ohio, 45373. Well, what else do we have? The stack is dwindling now as we roll through. If you want to call in, 937-696-7572. Maybe you've agreed with me enough to call in. Maybe you've disagreed with me enough to call in. Maybe you have a fresh take you want to get out there. You got 1 minute guaranteed. We won't stop you, cut you off, hit you with the kill switch, anything like that for 1 minute. Surviving self-isolation. And I do encourage phone calls because sometimes I only have what I have to go off of. People have more information that maybe wasn't available to me at the time of getting the story or forming an opinion on it. And it can help change and turn the conversation. So I do recommend that. I'm just do a tactical reload on the water here. So Surviving Self-Isolation is an article by Melody in the TroyDailyNews.net. Within hours of the coronavirus having an impact on our society, school closings, business closings, social self-isolation, the internet became inundated with ideas for how to survive this time. First, let me say that I know we will survive this time, and I pray that everyone gets through it with no deaths in our area. I searched the internet for ways to share to help us survive the loneliness, anxiety, and virus-induced toilet paper panic that is swamping our streets. I checked out several websites such as CoventryTelegraph.net, HelloMagazine.com, and People.travel.com. Some of them had some fun ideas, but many were things to do that might suffice for one rainy day, but would drive me crazy if I had to do it for a couple weeks. One big idea was clean your house. This took many forms, such as adding a condo to your drawers and clean that closet. Cleaning is a task that always depresses me. Thinking of doing it for days on end is not the way to get me through isolation. And this is a perfect time to catch up. I've been catching up on a lot of cleaning home projects. I took the entire board apart today, but I still had to go to Lowe's and Home Depot for the lubricants and cleaning supplies that I need for the board. And you can't find cleaning supplies. In fact, at Home Depot, they had a sign up there in Piqua at the Home Depot that they didn't have cleaning supplies due to this. Another opinion article wrote, and I only read half of that. If you want to read the full thing, we'll have it in the show notes where you can go find articles that I've talked about in the show, a few that I skipped over. You got all the links right there compiled in one place. That'll be in the show notes, the description of the show. It says right here, are you under the lion's paw? By the Troy Daily News, troydailynews.net. Got another message coming in here. State reversed the golf decision. Yeah, we talked about that earlier in the show. Did Miami Shores reverse? If you can find that out for me, because I checked their Facebook page before the show, we'll have an update there on the end. But it says, are you under the lion's paw is the title of this. It says, how does it feel to be under the lion's paw? Are you feeling frightened, depressed, angry, powerless, hopeless? Many of us are experiencing those same emotions as we struggle with this virus and the multiple changes in our lives. My reference to the lion's paw comes from Hamlin Garland's 1889 story, Under the Lion's Paw. The specific situation in that story involves a concluding scene in which a hardworking man and his family are being victimized by a wealthy landowner who, oddly enough, has spent the past year in Washington, D.C. visiting with his brother-in-law, who has been elected to Congress. When we feel the emotions I mentioned above, we have the urge to blame someone or thing. Someone or thing. Our government and its leaders, another country, and in the absence of those targets, we may find ourselves behaving in uncivil ways to the persons with whom we are living, especially if we're self-quarantined because of our uncivil ways. I don't know how I should take that one. All parties should sit down and calm themselves with breathing exercises. All right. Let's go on to step 2 here. Each person gets to talk about what is annoying him or her and what he or she prefers as an alternative to that behavior. Persons in the group agree on what can be changed and what timeline and what not can be changed. Let's see here. Now, there it is. That's the mayor just posted 11 minutes ago. More unsung heroes. Don't forget to thank a truck driver. Coming from a truck driver, no thank you. Thank a forklift driver. Thank a logistics manager. Thank a warehouse employee. Thank a McDonald's employee. All these people are essential to our lives, no matter who they are. Thank a retail person that sells trinkets that you enjoy and have pleasure with in life, as far as anything. Thank those people. Don't thank the government. Everyone makes the economy run. That's another opinion piece of the Troy Daily News, Under the Lion's Paw. Go over there and read that for yourself. There's a couple paragraphs from it. I can't say I 100% agree with it, but it is an opinion piece. I feel like none of us would be in this situation if it weren't for those decisions. Let's see here. We got Politico. Ohio lawmakers have extended mail voting in the state's primaries. This is what I wanted to cover here, try and make it as clear as possible for everyone. Ohio lawmakers have extended mail voting in the state's primaries until, let's see here, April 28th. M-A-I-L, not just mail voting. Mail voting in the state's primaries until April 28th. But civil rights groups warn the plan could disenfranchise large groups of voters after coronavirus concerns delayed the state's original primary on March 17th. More like, we want to count the votes a certain way delayed that primary. The Ohio State Legislature passed the primary changes as part of an overreaching coronavirus response bill, and Governor Mike DeWine indicated he will soon sign it, which means he will definitely do that. It's going to happen. Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose issued a directive last week following the poll's closure that said the primary was postponed until June 2nd, but the legislature's coronavirus response package nullifies LaRose's order. Well, then why doesn't LaRose just grab a doctor and do what he wants? Be pretty easy. After lawmakers argued LaRose did not have the authority, the new law instructs LaRose's office to send a postcard to every registered voter in the state to notify them of the methods. When's the last time you've really wanted to open up mail from the government? When's the last time that doesn't get just thrown under a desk somewhere to be opened later? The methods by which the elector may obtain an application for absentee voters' ballots along with relevant deadlines, but the statute does not actually mail every voter an absentee ballot request. Ballots must be received by 7:30 p.m. on April 28th, subject to change, please read terms and conditions, or postmarked on or before April 27th and received May 8th to count. Also subject to change, please read terms and conditions, print out by Mike DeWine. A light turnaround for a state whose election was marred by late confusion. An 11th hour decision, and we covered that. I recorded the first show right after that decision came down. I was getting ready to go to bed. I was going to record the show the next day, but I had to do it that day and get something out for the 2 Mondays ago when that order dropped. It was an 11th hour decision. Everyone went to bed thinking they were going to wake up and go physically vote the next day. Yes, the voter turnout would have been a little bit decreased due to the virus, but of course, it would have been more than what we're going to get out of this mail-in nonsense. All right, I had something here for this, I think. Let me take a look. So this has been a hot topic going around. I've seen some of this in the Troy, Ohio Citizens group. One of our members over there at 2.0 had an excellent comment on this. We've got a fun little little bit of reading ahead of us here, and this should be just about enough to wrap the show up. We got a couple community things we're going to go over, and then we'll wrap it up here because it's been about an hour and a half, so we'll try and keep it around an hour and 40 tonight. So Troy competes against Kentucky for jobs to fill United Retail building. City seeks payroll program to add to incentive package. And the comment to this, because they want to add I've got it right here, a 25% kickback of the city's withholding payroll tax back to the company up to a maximum threshold amount set. And someone commented saying, that's great. That's great that they're doing that. That's great that they're bringing business in. I guess the color change wasn't enough to convince the company to come on their own. And the water tower, the second water tower, next to the other water tower. The other one just got a better paint job on it. Which I went in and I dug the numbers. Remember earlier I told you there were some numbers that I grabbed. It wasn't for the golf course rebuild. I wanted to do that, or of the clubhouse over there. But I did grab the numbers from two respected sources here. So the first one, as my papers are falling apart here, is from the Dayton Daily News, I believe, Nancy Bowman. A new Troy logo and tagline, Make It Yours, were unveiled this week, and this was back on July 7th of 2018. The results of more than a year-long rebranding project were shared during presentations for the media and before the Troy City Council. Position itself for the future and how to tell our story better was the point. The results, he said, reflect the friendly, professional, and inviting qualities that radiate from the city. The tagline is intended as an invitation for locals and visitors to take part in what the city has to offer, from recreation to employment and quality environment in which to raise a family. Council members offered no comments, figures following a nearly 20-minute presentation by Kathy Roeder of the Troy Chamber of Commerce and the Active Troy Partnership. The media presentation was done by BLDG consultants Becker and Carley. Reuter told council more than 400 people provided input during the research project. Out of 25,000 people, they got 400 people to decide that if they should change the colors that have been the way they've been forever. But the project, what I'm getting to here, is the project cost $63,000, with the city contributing $12,500 along with other partners. But a more recent article has come to light on the matter from the MiamiCountyBC.com. MiamiCountyBC.com. This article from Mario. Troy has changed its official colors to navy and orange, and here's why. The true colors of a multi-year rebranding project are officially being brought to light. After decades of public criticism for the use of red and gray, Troy has changed its official colors to navy and orange. And at first I thought, who's criticizing those colors? No one's criticizing those colors. Which I have to say, our show colors here are to theme with the city, but it's to keep everything in line, and I'm not completely not open to change. I don't mind it. It's not a huge deal. We've got way more things to worry about, but just a little fun here. The rebrand was brought to life by the Discover Troy Initiative, DTI, a lobbyist group who claimed that the red and gray scheme was not respectful of the blood and ashes of those who were lost in the Beamish Rebellion. That is, you might have to go down to the Troy County the Troy Public Library down there to find the articles on that. Locked away in the vaults of history of Troy. City officials declined to comment on this matter. Fire hydrants are the immediate victims of this rebrand, but will soon be joined by the fountain on Troy's downtown square. We're dyeing the water orange. We signed the contract. We won't hear any debates, stated DTI Chairman Iris Fiddlehorn. It all started with a sponsorship we had in the works with Sunny D. Eventually, they stopped returning our calls, but we had already chosen orange. We kept looking, made some headway with Tang, but couldn't finalize the deal there, said Fiddlehorn. We ended up with Tri-C as the official sponsor, which I know isn't very exciting, but at least I made some money on the deal. Don't publish that. The choice of navy blue was a result of 18 months of extensive research from focus groups, with more than 800 people contributing research for the project. We just want to be different. Sometimes being different means being ugly. Sometimes being ugly means pissing someone off. In this case, that's the entire Troy community. They just need to deal with it. They don't get to choose, stated Fiddlehorn. The project cost $638,000, with the city contributing $50. Other partners were Troy Market Street, the Chamber of E-Commerce, Troy Development Committee, the Troy Growth Institution, and Subway. 2 articles there. I will let you make up your mind. Of course, that whole article is satire. It's sad that I have to state that on the show, but if I don't say that article was satire, I'll have people running around the city spent $638,000 on colors. Well, they spent $63,000. I mean, is it much of a difference? $638,000 to change the colors, or $63,000? Either number is absurd. But of course, and the Beamish Rebellion did not happen. It's just a gag. The dark times are over. Don't go back to living your lives. Well, we've sifted through that stack there. We're going to go check in, see if you've got any calls you want to squeeze in here. 937-69-675-72. That's about going to wrap it up for the show. You can always reach us, beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. Join our Facebook page, facebook.com/beautifultroyshow. Or if maybe you're not able to express all your opinions in the call, we can't get around to it, a topic I missed, you want to go directly to the citizens, facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio Citizens. And we are up to, what are we up to now? 350 members over there. Sure. We've got a lot of other stories here that I just did not have time to get around to tonight. I will throw them in next week. Show notes will be available to you in the description. And I will get around to those because they're like 4 or 5 articles, but it's all one story linked together. I'll throw that in and save it for next week. We've been having an explosive week of news this last week. It was bigger than last week before that on the show, and this is the reason we started the show here at the Troy Show, is simply for the fact that there is way more local news than you would imagine, that maybe some people aren't privy to. Maybe they feel like the bureaucratic policies or bureaucratic folks at play maybe just don't care, they don't have a voice. Whatever the case is, the reason why you're not getting enough local news, maybe sometimes we just get too caught up in the national scene and we forget about the decisions that affect our lives when we walk out of the door. That's what we're here for at the Troy Show and Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0. It's just a place for people. This show, again, is just a vessel to get that voice out there, and we have a little bit of fun with it. We can't not poke fun at our own city sometimes. Troy is a great place to live, and it's a great county to be in, and we all have our reason. Some people can't just move places. Some people are in Troy for a reason. Some people just are here because that's what life's presented them. And not everything's sunshine and roses, but we can have a little bit of a laugh along the way. So thanks so much for joining us tonight. We're going to get rid of that hum. We kind of worked with the audio this week. It's a little bit better. I think I'll have to listen back to it. I'm a bit of an audio snob, so I'm always trying to tweak as we can. But thanks to everyone who called in tonight. And we'll see you back here next week on The Troy Show. And remember, this is Troy on Air.